Well, the National Churchill Museum is featuring a traveling Smithsonian exhibit entitled Mail Call.
Ryan Rumbaugh joins us with a look at the history of America's military postal system.
Good morning, guys. Yes, like you said, I am at the National Churchill Museum, and we're looking at their newest exhibit. It's called Mail Call. I'm here this morning with Kit. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Great, great. I love coming here. I always learn a ton. Right when I walk in the door, you're full of knowledge, always teaching me stuff. It's awesome. Now, this is called Mail Call, and this resonates a little bit with you because you served. Tell me about that.
Yes, there is nothing like hearing Mail Call. The company clerk yells Mail Call, and you just hope that your name is being shouted out. You get a package or a letter from home. When I was serving there, we were not videotaping, but cassette taping. It was just always great to get the news from home, to get the newspaper from your hometown.
Yeah.
And catch up. It was just wonderful.
And this is a Smithsonian exhibit. Explain to me what that means to the museum.
It's an exhibit from the Smithsonian Institute, and it is from their U.S. Postal Museum. We were wonderfully blessed to be able to get this exhibit. We have the space for it, and it just is a fantastic exhibit. And it's a large exhibit.
Yeah.
It goes quite a distance, and there's so much to see. There's actually parts of it from the Revolutionary War, Civil War, Panama Canal, World War I, II, all the way to today in Afghanistan.
Okay, and right now we're standing in front of the Civil War kind of display here. Explain to me what some of this stuff is.
Well, there are some letters here that are written from a man, David Walters, to his wife, Rachel, in 1864. It starts out when he was mustered in. He talks about all kinds of things, asks about the dog and the kids. She tells him about buying a new hat and a dress. He talks about his first battle, going back and forth. The sad part is that he's taken prisoner of war and actually dies in a camp. And the very last letters are from his commander instructing her how to go about receiving his back pay and pension. But there are just some very, very interesting letters to see and to read. The exhibit is not set up chronologically, so this part of it talks about prisoners of war, and there's a section of World War I prisoner of war, World War II prisoner of war. There's also an incredibly long letter that this one girlfriend wrote her boyfriend in Korea.
I wonder how long that took, huh?
Well, it says it took him almost an hour to read it, and I'm sure that he read it and reread it and reread it and reread it.
I bet.
But the exhibit is about how how mail is moved, and so you'll see the earliest moving it by horses, moving it by people carrying it, and then actually moving it between ships when ships are at sea, firing it off of missiles and submarines. And there's just also interesting looks at what people think are important at home that you'd want to hear about, and when you're serving, what you think your family wants to hear about.
All very interesting. When we come back, we're going to take a look at more of the exhibit because it is a big one. So
it is.
Lots of knowledge here at the National Churchill Museum, but for now we'll send it back to you guys.
It's pretty interesting, a look into the past.
Yeah. Well, one of the newest exhibits at the National Churchill Museum traces the courage, fear, despair, and hope of soldiers and their loved ones.
Ryan Rumbaugh joins us live from the museum with a look at Mail Call.
Good morning, guys. Yes, I am at the National Churchill Museum, and we're talking about a great exhibit. I've been looking around all morning, and it's really honestly touching. I'm here this morning with Kit. Good morning.
Good morning.
Like I said, it's pretty touching. You don't realize how much importance mail has to someone in the service.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't realize how much mail gets moved and all the different ways that it gets moved. This exhibit shows how the mail is distributed, how the mail gets to the person, how the person sends the mail back. During World War II, they were distributing mail for over 16 million American men and women who were in the service. And when they moved on, just keeping track of how the letters get moved to them. After D-Day, within 4 days, the mail was being delivered to the men and to the women who were actually in France.
Yeah, and I'm sure they were really grateful for that. I was reading a couple of the exhibits and said there's nothing that boosted morale more than getting a letter from home.
Oh, absolutely. And when you get a stack from home because you haven't been there or it just hasn't caught up, you start with the last letter first and then work your way forward, because if there's bad news, it can always wait while you work your way forward.
Yeah.
This section talks about some of the earliest days.
Okay.
And these are actual letters from, this one right here is from the Civil War, and it's from the quartermaster who's saying that it's the post office's responsibility to move the mail, not the quartermaster's. And it's a very sarcastic letter, and then it ends with, "Your obedient servant," which I always find very interesting. This right here is a passport, and the passport from World War I, and this man, Charlie Leary, is given authority to go to England and then to France, and his job is to manage the mail coming from the front in 1918 of World War I. This little badge right here is a badge that was worn in the 50s by an American who was in the military, but his job was to oversee the mail service at Frankfurt am Main Air Force Base. And here's some of the different stamps that were stamped previously, some of the insignia. Letters get moved by helicopters. They get moved in the early days by covered wagon or by quartermaster wagon.
You said they tried to do it by missile.
Yes, they did. In the 1950s, the military experimented by sending a missile off of submarines and landing it safely, and it was some of the very earliest practical applications of missile service. Yeah. It didn't continue very long.
Yeah, you don't think mail when you think about missiles,
no,
that's for
you
sure.
Don't. But we actually have some first letter stamps from the Nautilus, which was a submarine that went under the North Pole, and that was a secret mission during the Cold War. There is so much information in this exhibit, and so many different things that you can see, and there's interactives, there's video, voice recordings, and then the actual artifacts themselves to see. It's a lot of fun.
It is. It's an outstanding exhibit. When we come back, we're going to check out even more of the exhibit because, like you said, there's more than enough to look at here at the Churchill Museum. But for now, we will send it back to you guys.
Well, we're going to Fulton next. The newest Churchill Museum exhibit explores the history and importance of mail delivery between soldiers and their loved ones.
Ryan Rumba joins us live from Fulton with a look at Mail Call.
Good morning, guys. Yes, it is called Mail Call, and we're at the National Churchill Museum in Fulton, and I'm here this morning with Kit. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. Learning a lot this morning. This is such a great exhibit. For those of our friends that are just joining in, what is this exhibit all about?
Mail Call is an exhibit from the Smithsonian Institution, and it's from the U.S. Postal Museum, and it's all about how the military moves its mail.
Okay.
How you write a letter to someone who's serving, and how they get the letter, and how their letters come back. It starts with the Revolutionary War. It goes all the way till Afghanistan.
Okay.
So it's a large exhibit. There's very much to see.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how things have changed so much.
Yes, it is.
But it all still means the same when a soldier gets their mail from home.
It is. There's nothing like getting a letter or a package from home.
And you served, so
yes,
resonates a little bit with you.
I remember getting my packages from my grandma. They were wonderful. They were wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. So what are we standing in front of right now?
This case has got some very interesting letters in them. There are letters asking, I haven't received a letter from our son who's serving in a long time. Could you please help me find him? My favorite letter is this letter from a man who is in basic training in the Navy in Chicago, and he is writing to someone, and he gets kind of mushy in his letter, and then he misspells the girl's name, which I find very, very funny. But again, he's asking her to write. He misses her letters. There's postcards from Saigon and from Paris. There's a postcard. A lot of the military would have a postcard made of him or her in uniform. There's a letter from the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps in Florida thanking someone for the recommendation so that she could get into service. There's a letter from the Panama Canal, someone that was serving down there. A letter from a surgeon to his wife and the wife back. And then there's a very lovely letter here, I love you.
That's my favorite one.
And with lipstick, with kisses on it, sealed with a kiss.
Sealed with a kiss,
Sealed with a swack.
Now, how do they get all these letters?
People donated things to museums when they're just not able to keep them anymore, or you find that you have a lot of a particular thing. We have items of Churchill materials that are donated to us, your local county historical society, and people just have been very generous with the Smithsonian and making donations of things that the Smithsonian is our museum. It's the American Museum, so they collect things that are representative of who we are and what we do. They have got Fonzie's jacket. They have things from Good Morning America. They have things from all. They have beautiful paintings. They have the Kitty Hawk. I think they have the Kitty Hawk. But they have just wonderful, wonderful things. And if you're in D.C., you really should go and see it. But this is their way of bringing things out to us. So those of us who aren't going to get to D.C. have the opportunity to see this wonderful, wonderful exhibit about us.
Well, it is wonderful. And I have to thank you for having us this morning. Always great information when we come here. Come check out Mail Call. It's here until about the middle of October, right?
Until October 19th. And next Thursday, September 18th, the Postal Service is unveiling the Medal of Honor stamp here.
Very cool.
So the public is welcome. Please do come and join us.
Very cool. Well, thank you again. And for now, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.